Sometimes I wonder, who is the best at jiu-jitsu in the world?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And that's something that would be pretty hard to know, as it literally could be anyone. Well, probably Gordon Ryan. But I can imagine some absolute unit who does jiu-jitsu in a random gym in the back ass of nowhere.
He's a quiet little hillbilly from the back ass of nowhere.
And I can imagine this person being an absolute monster and not competing, so I guess we'll never know. So what's the next question? I know. Who's the best jiu-jitsu fighter in the UFC? Probably not the next question, but it's a pretty good video idea, I suppose. Before this video starts, please make sure that you like and subscribe with notifications on. It's literally free, so if I ever annoy you at any point, I don't know, you can always just unsubscribe. But yeah, nice one. Enjoy. So anyway, welcome to the top 5 best jiu-jitsu fighters in the UFC. And yes, this is my top 5 list, but if you disagree, you can always leave it in the comments, or equally, you can fuck off. Coming in at number 5, we have none other than the man himself, Mr. T-City, Brian Ortega. Despite losing to Max Holloway in their title fight back in 2018, Brian Ortega put on an absolute clinic in his most recent fight against the Korean Zombie and looks pretty sick on the feet, to be fair. But not only being very impressive on the feet, he's actually a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he also is very skilled when it comes to using his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to choke out or submit any of his opponents he comes across. I actually read a fact, right, that being choked out by Brian Ortega is equal to having a 360-pound man stand on your neck. Fuck that. He literally had to make the list for this reason alone. Moving on to number 4, we jump up from the featherweight division all the way to the lightweight division. Literally not that far. And we look no further than the champion himself, Charles do Bronx Oliveira, who is the most accomplished submission artist in the UFC, finishing 13 guys by submission. No other fighter has ever submitted as many people in the UFC. Not even the man himself, Damian Meyer, who is on this list, by the way. The reason he's not above Meyer on the list is because he's also lost a lot of fights by submission too, losing to the likes of Jim Miller and Anthony Pettis, even though it was before his kind of rise to lightweight gold. But his accomplishments speak for themselves. He was able to submit 13 men with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills that now defo pay the bills. Moving on further up the list, we have to take a look at none other than Stockton's own Nate Diaz, who is one of my personal favourite fighters of all time. He submitted guys like Takanori Gomi, Jim Miller, and who can forget none other than Conor McGregor, who's also one of my favourite fighters of all time. He's racked up 9 UFC submission wins against some really tough opponents, as previously mentioned, and he, like the other guys on this list, his BJJ skills should be feared. Genuinely feared. And also to mention, just because Nate Diaz pretends to be hurt, and it really doesn't mean that he actually is, it usually means that he's trying to bait you into coming to the ground to wrap you up and make you go night night, mate. Moving on to the top 2, we go to the man himself, Ronaldo Souza, or you may know him as Jacare Souza, which literally means in English alligator. And trust me, he will wrap you the fuck up like one too. He's also a UFC legend and has fought so many high level guys for so many years, racking up wins against like Chris Weidman, Tim Bosch and Derek Brunson. And I know you're probably thinking, yo, he literally only submitted one of them guys and has 4 submission wins in the UFC. Why is he above like Nate Diaz or someone else on the list? But let me tell you, Souza doesn't use his jiu-jitsu as much in MMA, but he's an 8-time world jiu-jitsu champion. This guy's been around the block and around the block and around the block and back again, mate. Oh god, that was a lot of around the blocks. And also, do you wonder why he doesn't go to the ground as much? Because people are trying to do their best to stay on the feet with him. As even if he doesn't submit you, he'll pass your guard and knock you the fuck out. Now, before we move on to number 1, I'd like to add in some honourable mentions. These include Bryce Mitchell, Mackenzie Dern, Ryan Hall, Tony Ferguson and Aljamain Sterling, but nobody even comes close to this guy at number 1, and you've probably already guessed it by now because I did mention that he would be in the list before. It's none other than Damian Meyer, and if you disagree, then you just don't know jiu-jitsu. I'm sorry. Although he doesn't have as many jiu-jitsu victories as Charles Oliveira, he does have 11, beating guys like Ben Askren, Carlos Condit and Neil Magny and many more. There is nobody, and I mean nobody, better than Meyer when it comes to his pace, technique and the way he can just pass your guard like he's melting through you like hot butter. Even more impressively, it only took him 5 years to get his black belt. Mate, how is that even possible? I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 years and I haven't even got my blue belt yet. Fuck my life. It seems to be that jiu-jitsu just comes as natural as walking to Damian Meyer. And that is why he is the #1 best jiu-jitsu fighter in the UFC. So, just a quick recap. Number 5, Brian Ortega. Number 4, Charles Oliveira. Number 3, Nate Diaz. Number 2, Jacare Souza or Ronaldo Souza. Up to you really. And number 1, Damian Meyer. Did you agree with my list? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe if you've just come across my channel for the first time. It helps me out more than you would know. And yeah, stay safe and keep grappling people. In a bit.